Well, I've got my coffee. It's relatively early in the morning for a slow riser. And,
I'm impressed. You were very punctual today as well.
You say that like that's not like me.
Sometimes. But today was your most punctual.
Yeah,
you beat me to it.
I was on it. No, I got up and I did some movement and some breath work and some meditation. I was very aware of my racing mind this morning. But yeah, a lot on for me. But like I said before we press record, I'm not complaining. That's just the reality.
It's the reality. We're lucky. I also think it's this time of year as well. I feel like May to November is just all gas, and there's so much happening in the running world as well.
It's very true. Yeah, it's that sort of late summer season. You have all these big races, and you have like all these brands trying to capitalize on stuff. Everyone's also getting towards the end of their like block, or at least even some people might even just be kind of midway through a block. Yeah, lots of running happening. It's crazy weather here, like proper drought.
It's super hot. I was in Wales and had one day in London maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, and when I was in Paris it was cooking. 39, 40, 41 degrees.
Over 40 in Paris, bro. What?
Yeah, and I heard London was similar or nearby.
Yeah, it's been like 36, which is just crazy business in London. Like, it's not set up for it. Anyone who knows London knows it's not got the AC, maybe in shops and stuff, but like it's not got like residential AC. No one's got that unless you've bought a unit. It's just not common. So you're just in these sweat boxes. And then you open a window and obviously, it's just hotter outside. So you don't really know what to do. You're just closing yourself indoors, shutting the blinds. Yeah. But it's nice. I mean, I do love London in the summer. And I'm not back for all that long. So I'm just sort of back and I'm getting on a line bike and cycling through and everyone's happy. All the parks are full of people. So yeah, it is a nice place
in London or line bikes in any city is my favorite activity.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's nice. Slotted straight back in because I don't live in London anymore. I'm like feel like it's very much not home. Actually, the last time I came back to London was the first time in I think 10 years that I've come back to London and on my way back not felt like I'm going home.
Wow.
Which was quite a big feeling for me. I was like, I don't feel like I'm going home. I feel like I'm going to London.
Where feels like home at the moment, if anywhere?
Nowhere, yeah. Not really anywhere, which is a strange feeling. I genuinely don't have a home. Well, home is where the heart is, right? So it's about the people you're with.
100%.
But in terms of location, place, I mean, I do feel like I'm coming home a bit when I come here, like I'm in my local area and this is home in some ways for sure, but it's no longer where I have all my things and yeah, a storage unit isn't really a home, is it? So
no, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Where have you
been? I'm doing all right. It's been, as I was saying before, it's been an interesting few weeks, particularly. Had a little bit of sickness, and then the avalanche at Broad Peak in Pakistan rocked me and was quite sad and upsetting because I had a friend on that climb. And yeah, Sahel was a amazing climber, adventurer, athlete, but yeah, first and foremost, just a great human. So I've spent a lot of time like following that in the last few weeks and have been processing it, but it's also just stirred up a lot of things to, I guess, reflect around adventuring, the mountains, nature, human pursuit. Yeah. But yeah, that has been quite upsetting, and yeah, particularly when it first came out was, yeah, just completely shocking and quite devastating. But
Yeah.
outside of that, I am, yeah, very full with opportunities and work at the moment, and around that, doing my best to just be on top of keeping myself healthy, to keep myself sustainable.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, man. It is obviously we spoke about it offline, so I'm not going to pretend that it's the first time I'm hearing about it. But yeah, tough, very tough, and I mean, like we were saying, it is just a pure tragedy. It's just there's nothing, there's no other way to describe it. It's just a complete tragedy, and 10 incredible mountaineers rolled the dice, and it went the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's in some ways there's this like very humbling message from Mother Nature in that respect. It's just like
Mm.
Mother Nature is the most powerful, and it kind of puts the human ego in check. And not saying
Yeah,
that those adventurers were egotistical by any means, but it doesn't matter like where you're at. It's just Mother Nature decides that's it. That's your day.
yeah, and I mean their attitude in Nepal is very much one of admiration and adoration and
Mm.
humility to the mountains. The mountain chooses. It's not up to them. And I mean that's really their attitude, isn't it? I don't think my impression is they're certainly not going up thinking I can defeat this and I can do it no matter what. They recognize the risks. They're
Yeah,
very
and on
acutely aware of it.
every expedition or climb of any size, you'll always do multiple like prayers and blessings
Yeah,
and songs at every stage of the journey, because they know, I guess, how treacherous it is, but yeah, how dangerous it can be. Because when I met my friend Sahel, I was doing an expedition in Pakistan and
mm.
did another one before I met Sahel, and it was the same kind of thing. It's just like everybody wishes you a safe journey. If there is any like weather window that's not favorable, you don't go. So you're watching these things all the time, trying to like make the best call, and
Yeah.
it still happens.
Yeah, and you really can't predict an avalanche like that. You just don't know when it's gonna just go. And that's why I use the terminology like roll the dice, because you ultimately are, when you're going up there, you're taking a risk. And
Yeah,
all these guys and girls out there who are going up these 8,000 meter peaks, they are every time taking a risk. They're rolling the dice in the sense that they can't control everything.
no,
They control
not at
they
all.
control what is controllable, and they are very thorough with all of that. But at the end of the day, that there's some things just are by complete chance, and
Yeah, I went
the
into
mountain
like a
doesn't care.
pretty. It doesn't. Yeah, I've been actually reading some notes from Reinhold Messner. He's
Yeah, you told me this. Yeah.
yeah, I think I said to maybe read them, but just the way he writes about the mountains, and
Mm.
particularly I think that post that I sent you is just like the mountains are, we perceive them as this like very beautiful thing, but they are just here it is. The mountains are not romantic. They are beautiful, yes, but they are also cold, exhausting, indifferent, and sometimes unforgiving. And that line of like they are cold, exhausting, indifferent, and sometimes unforgiving is,
Mm.
I was like, that's spot on. And I
It is
think
the
we think we can control it, but we can't.
no, exactly. It's the indifference that gets me.
Mm,
It's the
yeah.
they're not looking down and protecting you. They're not like they care not for what you're doing, because, and also it's the age of them that
Hmm.
gets me. They've been around for so long that you walking across it is merely even a blip in their existence. Like it's not
It's
even.
not even a blip.
And an avalanche isn't even a blip. Like a slight movement, like a slight weather change. It's a blip in a mountain's existence and just presence. And I think many people can maybe be cynical of this kind of talk about mountains because they're just a geological formation. That what are you talking about? That we're not necessarily personifying them. They don't have thoughts and feelings, but to us as organisms functioning on this rock, there is an energy that you feel sometimes when you're in those environments, and that energy is because there's a lot of interaction happening in the world, like materialistic interaction. Like there's there between it all, and that is certainly present when there is a huge amount of mass towering over you. Like there is something there, and although it doesn't think and feel, it's not like a deity of any kind. I think it's helpful to recognize its scale in comparison to you and its importance in comparison to you in some ways. And I mean, I'm relatively spiritual in some ways. I'm quite a cynic, but at the same time, there's something powerful about being in the mountains. And I always know that when I'm doing like an ultra in the mountains and my legs are dying and I feel like I am completely spent, I feel like I am in communication with the mountains most when I feel like that. Like,
definitely.
Like I'm more connected with the brutality and the coldness and indifference of the mountains when I go and try and run over them, because it sort of puts my limitations into perspective, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Both your physical limitations, and then if you're out there long enough and you see how quickly a weather window can change, you'd be like, any limitations that I want, they've got a bigger say. But I going back to like what you said at the start, I think you can personify mountains or try not to, but if you're in these places, you can't help but think that there is a spirit or some energy to them. Like it's too powerful. I think to anybody that denies it hasn't spent enough time amongst them.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think that anyone who really has been to the mountains for long periods of time, survived in the mountains in some capacity, whether it's just one night in the mountains, a 2-day trek or whatever they're doing, I don't think any of them would deny that there is something powerful in how you feel when you're in the mountains, and therefore potentially a unique energy. I mean, I've been to many places in the world that have a unique energy about them. Like it's undeniable that the way you feel when you're there is different from the way you feel when you're somewhere else. Like it's undeniable.
For sure. On that, actually, not a funny story for the person involved, but I found it funny when it was told to me. I was in Switzerland last year and at this beautiful lake, and when you looked up from the lake, there was this hole in the mountains, and my friends were like, that's a man-made hole. This like local guy 50, 100 years ago, he was like, I want to see through the mountains, and he went and blew a hole through it with dynamite. What? And did that. And then when he was hiking down, he got killed by rockfall. And I was like, if that's not the mountains just giving you instant karma. And it wasn't like rockfall from his dynamite. It was elsewhere. And I was just like, that's just Mother Nature just getting you straight back.
There we go, folks. Don't blow holes in mountains and then try and climb them.
If you have any takeaway from today's podcast, don't muck around with dynamite. Don't hurt the mountains.
Well,
but on that though, that's also like kind of what I've been reflecting about. Though it's like, if it's not dynamite, if it's enough foot traffic, it's like we are still harming the mountains. And I I think about that a lot, and then I think about events like UTMB and that are in these like fragile environments like Mont Blanc, which is now, as I was saying before the show, being shut with Rockford. It's like, as our duty as runners and trail runners who, for most of us, care about nature, it's like, should we be like running in these places?
Well, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because there is obviously such a thing as too much. But at the same time, I am a big believer that for people to appreciate nature and wildlife and the outdoors and the environment as a whole and the climate and all these things, they need to be in it. They need to experience it. They need to go
Completely.
to it.
Yeah.
And that, like, the people who don't care for these things, the shareholders at Shell or the presidents of certain countries who do not care about fracking and burning fossil fuels and the profit only, they don't care about the environment, clearly. These people don't spend much time in nature. Like, they don't actually really spend much time appreciating these precious environments. And so I'm a big advocate for encouraging more people to go to these environments. So I'm always sort of hesitant to say things like we need to like not go there, because I recognize that the best way to preserve a place is to not go to the place.
Yes.
Just like
I didn't think that's what you were going to say, but I agree. But I also think the best way to preserve a place is for someone to feel the magic of it and develop a relationship with it.
For sure.
Which is exactly what you said.
If action is required, if change and action is required on our part, like stopping certain activities to try and preserve these environments, absolutely, like to be motivated and have a desire to do that, you have to go to it and experience it and have that passion for it. But in reality, like, if we just left it all alone, which I also don't think we should do in some ways, like we are, you know, humans, we're sort of allowed to be here. It's not that I don't believe that humans are inherently bad to exist. You know, I'm not one of these people. But, you know, I was in the Bornean jungle not long ago, and you just are like, oh no, yeah, the jungle, if left alone, just functions phenomenally by itself. Like, it heals itself and it rejuvenates and everything works in symbiosis, and it's actually our interaction with it, our kind of like human, the way that we invade and disturb is really what impacts it. And so, yeah, it's difficult because obviously I want people to experience it, but I also don't want people to tread heavily. And so, I mean, even in Chamonix, I think the new mayor of Chamonix is going to be cranking down a little bit on these sorts of events and UTMB.
I did read about that. I didn't read into it enough, or I guess at all, to be like, this is what he's going to do. But I read that he has thoughts to like reduce the amount of people coming for UTMB.
Yeah, he just came in, I think, and so he couldn't make any changes for this year. But I think as of 2027, we'll see limitations on participants' supporters. Potential limitations put on participants, certainly limitations put on traffic into the town. I think that it will just be made more difficult for UTMB to put on an extravaganza of an event that attracts almost hundreds of thousands of people. I think over 100,000 people come into the town, and although there's often many more than 10,000 people in the town, it is I think there's a permanent residency of like 8,000. So you're talking about a very small town, which is mostly a touristy town. There's you know, it's got loads of people in it often, but when you're talking about 100,000 people coming in, that is crazy business.
I just pulled up some notes on it, and Francois Xavier Laffin, the newly elected mayor of Chamonix-Mont-Blanc, in March told Elle Equipe that he wants changes to the event starting with a smaller footprint in the town.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, as I think we'll get to in other topics today as well, it's just this like nuance and finding these like middle points, because he also is like, didn't dismiss the event entirely. And he's like, UTMB is a remarkable event and it reflects several things closely tied to Chamonix, like pushing personal limits, nature training. But he's like, it's become too invasive for residents and has grown too much. So
it's hard to disagree with that, man. I'll see it. I'll see it next week, or I will have seen it by the time this comes out. But I've never been during UTMB week, but I've heard many amazing things.
Are you going to be there?
I'll be there. Yeah.
Are you running?
No. A friend of mine's doing, and a friend of the pod, Brim, for those who listened. Ben Brimmer, he's doing CCC, and I'm sort of crewing him for it.
So sick.
So
and see, this is the other side of it. It's like when you know someone on an individual level and they just absolutely love running and it's a big part of their world, and this is kind of like the creme de la creme, and you're like, well, everybody wants to do a loop of UTMB or CCC or some kind of offering there. So
it is the limitation that we have. It's an inherent limitation as trail runners and ultra runners that we have when it comes to racing. And we can't just put on an extra day of racing. We can't just do what London Marathon has done and put on an extra day. Like you will do that and annoy people because you're closing the whole city. It feels like for a running event for 2 days for a whole weekend. That annoys many people, of course. But you're not gonna damage the ground. You're not gonna disturb this concrete jungle by running in it at the end of the day. So we're talking about precious environments. We are actually talking about precious environments, and they may seem indestructible, but as we know, they are. You can disturb them if you know. There are habitats, precious habitats, and the way that these ecosystems function is by retaining and preserving these habitats and the animals and species that are within them, because they actually work to treat them well, and everything is how it is because of the nature, the natural environment. That includes all of the organisms and species, right, from plants to animals that are there. And the more you overload that with human involvement, human building, and loads of traffic over the trails and all that stuff, the more that gets disturbed ultimately. So I'm no environmentalist in the sense that I don't have a huge amount of knowledge with how you would do these things, but it just takes a bit of common sense to recognize that thousands of people running over the trails, like we're not just talking about the 100 miler, we're talking about every event that's happening, and there's literally thousands and thousands of people. So it is a big calendar event.
Oh yeah.
Again,
don't know what the answer is, like we get to, but as suggested here, there's like fewer crowds, fewer races, or maybe you go fewer races, fewer crowds. Don't know what the answer would be.
Well, 25 minutes in, people might be thinking, where's the show and tell? I'll probably just interject here and say we don't have one. I'm living out of a bag, traveling around. I could show some glasses. We both have cool water bottles.
Yes, that will be my show and tell. I don't think we've spoken since I went to New York, so I picked this up from my friend Jace at Minor Planet, and his whole thing is spiritual running. So it says, I don't take drugs, I am drugs. No one wins unless everybody
Salvador
wins.
Dali. That's Salvador Dali.
Salvador Dali, and I think Bruce Springsteen was the one that said, no one wins unless everyone wins.
Love it. What a mix! You've got Dali and Springsteen on on a bottle,
and I forget if that's the Bodhi Krishna or the spiritual icon that is.
Well, I have a less decorative but brand new ocean bottle, which I really like the color of. It's like a sort of, what do they call it? Driftwood. Sort of got a purpley tint to it, but it's brown. Yeah. And it's earthy. Lovely bottle.
Matches.
There we go. But that's the show and tell. Pretty rubbish, really. But hey, what can we say? Next time we'll promise to have it. And we also have not done a That's Notable for
we're
so
a bit
long,
rusty.
over 3 months. So I'll also just interject and apologise to the audience for
and I'll cop the blame.
There we go.
Just being flat out.
But yeah,
we need to have one villain.
Didn't want to. Well, I'm late all the time, but yeah, I think now that people know we're just going to ramble on without a proper show and tell. I think segueing from UTMB and restrictions to City to Surf, is that what it's called?
Great segue. Yeah, that's you read the play well. That was my alley-oop.
See what I did there? Yeah. So talk to us about City to Surf. What's happening and why are you copping some slack on Instagram for annoying triathletes? Are you annoying triathletes?
Actually,
Josh?
No, it wasn't so much annoying triathletes, but the way it came about was I was shooting a film in Sydney last week and was with the owners of a cafe that I was working with, and whilst they were there, one of the owners said to the other, like, I just got this email, and the other one was stoked. He's like, tell us the good news. And he's like, it's not good news. Like, we've been sent a cease and desist from Ironman saying that we can't mention City to Surf in our messaging. And then their messaging was for a post-run event where they were raising money for a local school charity. And so wasn't really even to like drive much profit to their own doing. And the fact is, it's like City to Surf brings 90,000 runners at plus crowds, friends, family. So coming into Bondi, let's just say 100,000 plus at the like absolute minimum. And where I've been sitting recently kind of as a stance is just that there can be this win-win mentality. And similar to the way that Laffin was talking about UTMB and being like, this is a good thing, I was saying that City to Surf is great. Ironman as an organisation obviously brings a lot of organisation to an event, makes it run smoother, the logistics are great. But I also don't think that they need to go after small local businesses who are trying to put on an offering to the runners after the event has happened. And I said that online and had a lot of support from the local Bondi community, had some friendly debates with people that love Ironman or people that love big business. But again, it's like I didn't even have a problem with like big corp. It was more so that just I think both Ironman and small business can win. And I think it's interesting because you have other organizations like Melbourne Marathon. When that's on, nobody else can mention Melbourne Marathon. So you have to come up with something else to talk about it. And I think for me, the bigger topic is how it extrapolates, because it's like if you have more of these big organizations like Ironman buying up all the races, it's like say Ironman bought Madeira Island Ultra Trail, an event that's been gone for so long, one that we love, one that is so community orientated, and then they came in and just went after any little small coffee shop on Madeira because they're just like, Mulett's on this weekend, come and have a espetada and a coffee. You'd just be like, what are you guys doing? Like, and I think this kind of mentality will come up in another topic that we're going to debate, but I think it actually only like perpetuates like divisiveness in the community. And I think, yes, they have to set a precedent and protect IP, but I also think that they can win, the small businesses can win. And when that happens, it's like if people have a good race, if they have a good coffee and lunch or other experience, whatever that is, it lifts up all the runners. Whereas I think if it becomes like this divisive mentality and people being like, nah, like anti Ironman, and they boycott the event, well then it kind of tarnishes the running community, the vibe around running. And ultimately it's just like, we want as many people running as possible. We want people enjoying the events. So yeah, that was my kind of debate online.
What I find fascinating about it, man, is like, who's making these decisions at Ironman? Like, who is making these decisions to send a like legal warning to these companies? Because in my eyes, Ironman, they don't have a great reputation. And if they're wanting to put on events, if they're wanting to befriend councils and all this sort of stuff and make it easy for them to put these large events on, and if they want to be welcomed into the places that they're going, then they should show that they are propping up local business. Now, the shameful thing to me is that they recognize that the power lies in the money, right? So they have the money and they can pay for what they want. And the power doesn't lie in the local coffee shop, because the local coffee shop doesn't really have any power to say, we don't like UTMB. Even if they all come together, they still lack power as it relates to like leverage, right? And so they're, instead of going to all these coffee shops and giving them a poster to put up, which they could do, like that's the opposite side of it. It's just like, hey, UTMB, Ironman or whatever, an Ironman event, City to Surf is coming this weekend. Put this sign up to advertise City to Surf and welcome athletes in, involve the local community and involve the local shops and all this sort of stuff to use the event. I mean, when you're a business, when you're a small business, you use Halloween, Christmas, local events, like everything. That's what you use to advertise stuff. That's like how it works. And if there's a local event happening, you're like, sweet, we've got athletes coming in. Let's try and appeal to runners because we've got this fun run happening, which is such a great event of the year. And then you get an official warning, which, by the way, for those who don't know what a cease and desist is, it's essentially a threat to say, if you continue, we will take lawful action. So it's not a fine or anything, like there's no repercussions. It's just like, stop doing this, otherwise we will take legal action. So it's using your big leverage of money and saying, we're more powerful than you. That's what it is. That's the communication. It's a threat.
Yeah, it's a very like bullying tactic.
Yeah. So I completely agree. And I think that what I see from a business perspective from Ironman is, I see them thinking, we need to protect the partnerships that we're establishing with certain brands, right? So they're establishing certain
sponsors that pay, and they're like, this year it was Voltaren. So they're like, well, we want to protect Voltaren or whoever.
What's Voltaren?
Voltaren is like a pain relief gel or tablet.
Right, yes.
Pain relief medicine.
Yeah, I mean, if they had a coffee shop, if they had a coffee shop sponsoring as one of the many sponsors that they get, maybe I'd understand sending round letters to say, sorry, we can't. But the reality is, like, what they're doing is like, by taking a tight grip on these things, they give themselves the opportunity to make official money-making partnerships with certain venues, right? So you can have an official City to Surf venue that venue has paid for, or whatever brands have paid. The brands have paid to rent a certain space and have the venue, right? And so if other companies, ultimately other small businesses, are taking advantage of this thing that they've not paid to take advantage of, then that is where legally they have grounds to stand on. From a business perspective, I sort of get it in some ways, but like the thing that I don't understand with many business decisions is that I think there's so much more benefit for you as a business if you make more friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
make more friends,
long
and
term.
it's like if every small little business around Bondi puts on a great event in the ecosystem of City to Surf, it only lifts the whole discussion about City to Surf up. People are like, I had a great race and the vibe at every cafe was epic.
Yeah. I mean, it just becomes this, I don't know, like, then City to Surf might argue, Ironman might argue, well, we're not stopping them from putting on events, they just can't use our name. That's it. So, like, yes, you could argue that you can still advertise to runners, you can still take advantage of the fact that there is an event going on, but using the name and trying to sort of seemingly associate yourselves with us is not how you're allowed to do it. That would be the kind of gracious take on it. But for me, like, I get sick of stories of Ironman and their portfolio companies just like going for it at these small businesses. I mean, it does. And I love, the annoying thing is, people who do Ironman events, they're like, to be fair, it's a mad event. Like, they put on great events. And the same with UTMB events. They're so good. They're so well put on. The vibe there is great. Like, it really is great. And so it's difficult to just say, no, I never want to do them again. But each time something like this happens, you're like, yeah, they do just act in a way that's so like opposite to the vibe that I was attracted to in the sport.
Definitely. Yeah, and I just think that you can put on a great event and care for the human more.
Yeah.
In any aspect of the things that they do. Whether it was like last year at UTMB and warning athletes about the weather and actually needing to pack better. Like, it's like, if you're putting on this event, like, look after the people that are running it. That's kind of the crux of it. Same for City to Surf. It's just like, look after the people that are paying you.
Yeah. I guess it's just like a general vibe in terms of how you operate. How are you operating as a business? But that's never the struggle I have with business is like operating in an ethical way, operating in an arguably unethical way has never stopped business from succeeding.
No.
Right? So, you know, you can just cut corners, do all the unethical things, but if it makes for a great event and if it makes for a perfect experience for the people doing it, or if it's very attractive, or it becomes like just the event that you should do, you're just going to succeed. And that's the struggle as the consumer, because, you know, at the end of the day, the only power you have is to either race these events or not. And I'm someone who's still racing UTMB events. I like it. I like the index. I like the events themselves. They're so well put on. It's difficult to kind of justify. But like, yeah, I don't know. People will be screaming at the people who hate UTMB now will just be like screaming like, you don't have to do them. I do local events as well. I support many different local events, but yeah.
Can't wait for That's Runnable sponsored event one day in the future, in the distant future.
Yes, same. I can't wait. I genuinely can't wait. I've got so many ideas about what sort of events I'd want to put on.
Where would you have your event if you could?
Where?
Yeah.
I mean, Madeira would be sick, bro.
Damn, read my mind.
Madeira would be amazing. To have an event in Madeira, or like some sort of through hike.
When do you think this one will go out, by the way? This podcast?
This episode?
Yeah.
Either it'll be probably end up being in September, or maybe late late August. Yeah.
Because I'm heading back to Madeira in September, just
Are you?
for some spiritual grounding and inspiration.
Love it.
Yeah,
That's where you really find peace, isn't it?
yeah, completely. It's
Nice.
the spot. So I'm very excited. So next round of That's Notable, I should have touched Madeira.
Oh, amazing. I remember your stories from last time you went, or one of the last times you went, meeting a randomer and ending up befriending each other and going on runs together. And
Yeah, and then I went to
vibes.
Switzerland with them. It was so good.
Yeah, crazy.
That was special.
Yeah.
What else you got for me?
Well, I have one topic which is gonna. I don't think I'm in fighting mode, but I think many.
You've meditated.
people-
You've had a chill morning, so you're not.
This is me, chill.
Yeah.
So there's been a drama in the ultra running space around the topic of doping,
Now,
and it's sort of
I'm
captivated
across
the
this
ultra
drama.
running space. You're
But I'm gonna need
across
you to-
this drama.
I'm across it, but I'm going to need you to paint the characters and give context and give some good details for both me and the audience.
I'll do my best job, but this isn't going to be a perfect summary of what's happened. It's just from my perspective what I've seen happen on social media and in Substack posts and other videos that I've watched and the general kind of discussion around it. But essentially, it all sort of kicked off because Sage Canaday, who has been on the elite side of running of all distances for many years and has a relatively large following on social media, but I think more so on YouTube. He basically engaged in one of Cam Haynes' posts. So Cam Haynes is very well known on the other side of the political spectrum, you could say, from Sage Canaday. And I think these things, the way I'm describing it, I think is important in some ways. But Sage Canaday, I believe, is not I don't know if he's vegan or if he just doesn't eat meat. I don't know, but he is very opposite to Cam Haynes, who is a bow hunter and has been on Joe Rogan many times, friend of Joe Rogan, and he is certainly the most famous bow hunter in the world. But he also runs marathons and runs ultra marathons and is just like a close friend of David Goggins. You know, he's that kind of ilk of character. I really like him as an individual. I think he's a very humble person, actually. And although I wouldn't agree with everything that he has to say about the world, I think that he's a real protector of environments and has definitely been campaigning against the Trump administration on certain things in relation to natural environment preservation and all that sort of stuff. I think he's a good character. My read on him is that he's a good person. Anyway, I don't want to sort of make moral judgments on either of them, really. I'm just sort of trying to sort of paint the picture of the type of people involved. I think Sage Canaday also means well in many ways. However, he basically, what happened was Cam Haynes won in his age group, I believe. He won Eugene Marathon for his age group. And Sage Canaday commented on Cam Haynes' post and said, would you pass WADA rules and regulations? Like, would you pass a drug test, basically? And Cam Haynes, as someone who is not an elite athlete, but is a very, very fast runner, to win your age group, he's sort of in his 50s, I believe, and win your age group. I just want to give
people context. So
yeah.
You're right. Cam Haynes won Eugene Marathon at 58 years of age, and he ran a 2:39.11, winning the Masters division and beating his recent best by more than 10 minutes. And interestingly, in this one caption, they said it is an age-graded equivalent time of running a 2:10.56. So I've never heard of like an age-graded equivalent, but
yeah, I don't know. Take that all with a
regardless, like 2:39 at 58 is humming.
He's a serious athlete, and he's someone who has been training all through his relatively long life now. He's almost 60 years old, and he has been training like a madman. He's become known for that. But he's also not been training optimally, and he only in recent years has retired from his full-time job and sort of gone full-time on his own thing, on his own podcast and stuff. He had a massive platform before, but he sort of delayed that. And only more recently, since his son Truett Haynes has been taking his running more seriously, has Cam Haynes actually started to train productively and optimally and sleep well and do all these things. So there's a lot to consider in terms of why he got a 10-minute PR. But the drama sort of plays out because Sage Canaday calls Cam Haynes out for suspecting that he wouldn't pass a sort of drug test, or he wouldn't pass the regulation, the WADA rules. And I'll try and speed things up, but basically Cam Haynes has been very honest about everything that he takes in terms of supplements and peptides and all sorts of things. Cam Haynes, I believe 2 years before the Eugene Marathon, broke his foot. And to help with the healing, I think his doctor prescribed him BPC 157, which is a peptide. We don't have heaps of information about that peptide. We can't say for sure that it helps with healing and all that sort of thing, but there's relatively decent anecdotal evidence to say that it's helpful. And I think there's many animal trials, maybe 1 or 2 human trials on it, but it's not enough for it to be a sort of approved medicine, especially in the UK. You wouldn't be getting that prescribed in the UK easily. And he took that and was honest about that, and he believes it helped his foot to heal. And then he goes on to train for and race various races, but then do a very good job of Eugene and get called out for this sort of stuff. So all of this comes out. And basically in the WADA regulations, this particular peptide is banned in and out of competition. I would think it's because we don't have much information about it. I don't think it's necessarily because it is a performance enhancer like EPO is, but it's something that that WADA doesn't have enough information about, and therefore they're just gonna ban it, right? So that's what he admitted to, and then from there, Sage Canaday went off from the comments that took place. Then Sage Canaday went off, and without naming Cam Haynes, which also annoys me, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say that the way that Sage Canaday has operated in not naming Cam Haynes and all this sort of stuff, and just like, I think it's a strange way to operate. Then just makes posts about there's a character in the space, makes it relatively obvious who he's talking about, who's taking peptides, who's breaking the rules, who's a cheat, brands him as a doper and all this sort of stuff. And then what ends up happening from Sage's fair call out of another athlete for breaking the rules, if you're looking at it like that, is there's just then a flurry of discussion about the rules, about WADA, about who's a doper and who's cheating and all this sort of stuff. And there's been all this drama around, like, should influencers be tested, and how can we make sure we're operating within a clean sport. And all the clean sport advocates, there's kind of like a camp out there who have been very clean cut and said the rules are the rules and everyone should keep to them. But then there's other characters out there saying, well, there's actually there's some nuance practically to this, and that we should also be kind of questioning whether some things should be allowed outside of, and some people questioning WADA rules anyway and how they're determined and all this sort of stuff. There's also been Mike McKnight, who went on Cam Haynes' podcast. Mike McKnight is a very well-known, formidable, long distance multi-day ultra marathon runner. He's won many 200-mile races, and he's really a beast in the sport. He also admitted to avoid back surgery, I believe, taking this particular peptide, BPC 157, on the podcast. That then spurs up even more debate. We've got someone who, bear in mind, Mike McKnight was once famously low carb or no carb as an athlete. So he's a very much a meat eater. So you have this kind of I think this underlying kind of clear distinction between, like, politically even, they're just very different, I would say. I don't even know if Mike has spoken about his politics, but I see the characters as very different, and I'll come on to why I think that's important. And so Sage Canaday then makes another post, without naming Mike McKnight, but then it causes all this drama, and Mike McKnight's then seen supposedly by some who are in Camp Sage as a cheat and all this sort of stuff, and branded a doper just for taking this peptide to avoid pretty invasive surgery. And I don't want to be seen to be like downplaying what that means. Like in my eyes, I think regulations are regulations, rules are rules, and hands should be put up to say, I have broken the rules there. But yeah, I think that it's sort of it's interesting how it's sort of all played out. And then you have involvement from Killian Korth. Killian Korth has been on the podcast. He's a great guy. Killian Korth is a formidable long distance, multi-day ultra athlete, and he wrote a Substack about it, and then sort of admitted to taking I can't remember exactly what, but essentially what is a banned substance for his allergies. And he even messaged Araviper before Cocodona to say, do I need exemption? And they said no, because they're not really measuring it. So they're like, yeah, you'll be fine, just take it. And then, of course, Sage is, more ammo towards these people. So I know that's quite a long-winded sort of summary. And you can go and catch up with the drama and everything. But there's the sort of summary of what's taking place. You have Sage Canaday and other characters as well, sort of coming after athletes, competitors, Killian Korth and Mike McKnight, of course, on the elite side of ultra running, multi-day races. And then you have Cam Haines, who is, I would say, an extremely good athlete, but he might win more local ultras, but he's not quite at their level. But age group wise, he's right up there. So this has spurred a lot of discussion, and I think that lays the ground and sort of the foundation for how we can discuss it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on that kind of messy description of what's been going down. But I find it fascinating in many ways, and I'll hold back to say why.
That was a great overview for something that has so much moving parts.
And I feel like every sentence had a caveat.
Yeah, and I think that's also kind of a great way to start, is that there are many caveats to this, and it is super nuanced, and there's so many things to unpack from different angles and different lenses, because I think if you're taking the lens, for instance, of no performance enhancing substances, that's an interesting one, because in 1984 to 2004, caffeine was banned from the Olympics, and that was a performance enhancing drug that was banned for 20 years. And now you have something like BPC 157, where it is not well studied yet. We don't know if it is good, if it's bad, but if it aids recovery for some people, then there is a degree to it that is performance enhancing. So it's easy to have this like clean slate, just you can't take it. But that is only looking at the lens of like gone for podiums, operating as a clean, like quote unquote clean athlete. But then you have this like, I think, other lens, which is perhaps say like bigger than sport, and that is to be a human, to be adventurous, and just to like do life to the most. Then I understand why these guys are taking peptides. Like Cam Haines is 58. If you can avoid an invasive or major surgery by injecting something for 30 days on off, and it helps dramatically, like, of course you would take that decision rather than like going under and the risk of surgery. So, and then I was thinking, like, knowing that we were going to discuss this, I think there's a side to it of, and what I would appreciate, because I think what we lack more and more on social media and people that we put on pedestals and in sport and in life in general is transparency. Like, I think that's what a lot of people want now. They don't necessarily want you to be a good person or a bad person. They just want to know like what your intentions and what your motives are. And I don't really know how that would be integrated into sport on a mass level. But I think the angle that I wanted to explore was, okay, if someone like Cam finishes like 60th in a mass race or 250th, say at UTMB, it's nothing to talk about. But there might be another guy who hasn't taken BPC 157 that finishes 252nd and is like, damn, I'm 58. I'm not taking anything. Like, why should I be competing against someone that is using performance enhancing drugs? And I think that in sport, and this is my bias, we often compare ourselves to another's likeness. It's like, I will compare myself to another white Anglo-Saxon 30-year-old male from Melbourne because I understand his life. But I'm not going to compare myself to a Kenyan that lives at 2,000 meters or 3,000 meters altitude that has been running since the age of 5. I'm like,
yeah, that's
not
fair.
comparable. But I think if you're like, oh, okay, I competed against a 55-year-old also on BPC or a 30-year-old who's on BPC, like okay, that makes sense. But it's so tricky because the system is so complex. There's so many different iterations of this conversation of like a 200-mile race versus a 10-mile race, competitive versus not competitive, avoiding surgery versus not, like
Yeah.
a black and white rule. And then I think the other thing that I want to asterisk is that I think trail running probably is rife with doping and drug use, but because of the nature of trail running being in hard to reach places, setting up doping control is super difficult. For instance, like I did a VK in Madeira and they were like, we can't afford to set up a doping tent on a little knob of a mountain because we can't afford 7,000 euros to set up this doping control, nor do we want to hike a VK to set this tent up right at the finish line. Like,
yeah, I mean, so much.
There's so much
there. I mean, even just, that spiel has just sort of highlighted how much there is to this. I mean, firstly, I want to say as well that one thing that I've found interesting to notice in the discussions is that it's very easy to brand all breaches of the rules as cheating, quote unquote, or doping, or and use these terms that actually are quite charged. They carry a lot of weight. And I'm not saying that if you break the rules with one particular substance, it's like worse or better. Well, actually, I am saying that, but like so basically there is this kind of debate, I think, between those on one camp who say rules are rules, and those on the other camp who say, I recognize that there are rules there, but can we discuss them? Right? Maybe that's you might find bias in the way that I've even discussed that. I've described those two camps, but basically there is nuance to the discussion of how we see certain individuals. So like, if you want transparency, I personally think that there should be a recognition of the difference between taking EPO and being suggested a peptide by your doctor, and that happening to be like outside of competition, and that happening to be a breach of the rules, right? There is a very clear difference. That you don't have to be an idiot to recognize there is a difference between that, right? So I think we need to be careful to, when we're talking about people like Cam Hanes and Mike McKnight, to come to their defense. I do think we should be quite careful not to brand them as cheats and dopers and all these sorts of harsh things, which I think has come from Sage Canaday's call-outs. Now, that being said, I do thank Sage Canaday for bringing up this topic of clean sport in the ultra space. I think that it's an interesting discussion, and I think that there probably are many cheats, actual cheats, who are taking stuff within the space. If there are people who are coming from places like, I don't know, weightlifting and CrossFit and all that, and high rocks and stuff like that, it's all full of it. And maybe less high rocks, I feel like they're kind of more on top of it. But I mean, we all know that these places are full of people taking actual performance enhancers, and culturally it's very different. And I think that within trail running, there are people taking substances that technically breach the rules, that are that is essentially cheating for anyone taking place in these races. So I don't know where I sit with it, because I want it to be clean sport, but I also want people to feel confident to be transparent about it. So if we want that result, if we want people to be transparent about it, we can't attack anyone.
Yeah, we can't make them villains for being like, hey,
we can't villainize people for taking a peptide to help them heal from or avoid invasive surgery. Like, that's my position on that. I do believe there's a difference between taking some performance enhancers, whether it's testosterone or EPO, or like things that have real differences in that sense, to taking something to avoid surgery. Like, the story does matter, the nuance does matter. It doesn't matter in terms of whether they technically cheated or not. It matters in terms of how we treat them in the space. That's how and why it matters. And what I don't like about all of this is how there has been clearly two camps. It has not been about the doping. It's not been.
No.
There's been this facade of it being about doping and keeping to the rules and protecting clean sport. But in reality, it's been personal attacks on people that you don't like in the space. And it's clear that Cam Hanes and Truett Hanes have their haters. Sage Canaday is a hater of Cam Hanes and Truett Hanes. He's said things about Truett Hanes in the past, about laughing at his attempt to go to the Olympic trials, wearing jeans and all this sort of stuff. He claims it was just a joke and never named him. But we know his position on that family. So we recognize there's context there. We recognize he's gone in and attacked this particular individual. And I think that they are from different sides of the sport. And whether you're on Sage's side or Cam Hanes' side is not a question I like to ask, because I think that we're all in this for the same reason. So what it does, in my opinion, when you act in this certain way and don't have transparent conversations with these individuals and make them feel safe to admit the interventions they've taken in their process to recover from certain things and that sort of stuff, if you don't make them feel safe to admit those things, they're never going to be. And for many people who are using BPC 157, they're not going to admit it anymore. And so I don't think we've taken a step forward in transparency. I think we've taken a step back, because it's not because we're talking about it. It's because we're talking about it in this way. It's personal attacks. It is camps. It is in the comment sections. It's not a professional way to do this. And so I just don't think it's been done the right way. However, I do think it's an important discussion, and we should talk about how it might be possible to regulate or to test or to do this stuff. It's not going to be perfect, but there is a path forward where you talk about how this looks in terms of actually getting to a place where it's sensible and clean sport, and people can continue doing this stuff long into their 50s if they want to, and still turn up to events and not be vilified for taking interventions that may not pass the WADA regulations. That's how I feel. I feel it's not necessarily about. That's my overall take after weeks of kind of bouncing around the clean sport debate and really trying to understand where I sit on it. I still don't really know in some ways, but where I sit on this particular drama is I don't like that it's been personal attacks. It's been like Gossip Girl and social media and not naming each other and not acting in a way that I think is actually fairly summarizing each other's arguments. I don't like that.
Yeah. And I would also think that there is this growth tactic to it as well, because things of division, and I'm not immune to this because I've seen the rewards of it in the last week debating Ironman, but points of division on the internet gain a lot of traction and a lot of growth. And for someone like Sage, it could be a tactic for him to like grow his own personal brand or profile. And when you look at Sage and Cam Haynes and Truett Haynes, it's like these guys are operating very differently from like an aesthetic point of view. You have one that is like very trail core, and the other guys are just like polished productions. Like, and it is I'm not saying, I think Sage is probably really just campaigning for clean sport, and plus what you also outlined, but it is just a tactic for attention too, opposed to being like, let's cooperate, communicate, or like have some kind of like collaborative discussion here. It's like, no, we're just going for sides rather than trying to find a middle ground.
Yeah, I mean, what I'd say to that is that I don't necessarily think that Sage is doing it for attention.
No,
I would argue that
but it is a byproduct.
For sure. I would argue that he is trying to nail his colours to the mast, and has been, as someone who is an advocate for clean sport. I just think in this instance, he's going after certain people because of his personal preferences of who to go after. Now, that is not to say that those on the opposite side from him have not been disgusting in their behaviour towards him. I think that many people have sent him certain comments and messages that are not comfortable to receive, and I would say that everyone who is involved attacking anyone personally, whether it's those who are the main characters in this drama or if it's those who are chiming in, I think that you need to act with more decorum and online and more empathy and recognize that no one's perfect. But like, these personal attacks are not fair, and I just think like the way that it's gone about is just like silly. And I think the thing that kind of frustrates me with this is like one of the reasons why many ultra runners and trail runners love the sport is because of the community. That's what's said, right? Is we love the community, we love the vibes, and people are so welcoming. More of this just makes it more like road running. More of this just makes it more like, I don't know. Just it just changes the vibe of the sport, and if we want to protect the like welcoming, inclusive nature of things, then the way we go about discussing these things has to be kind and respectful instead of personally attacking. I think that's my general message, and even if those who say that they weren't trying to personally attack, even those who like highlight these things say they weren't trying to personally attack, I think you just need to be careful about what is going to be the repercussions of how you talk about these things. And if you present a post that doesn't name the individual and it's like, I'm highlighting a breach of the rules, I'm talking about a cheater and a doper in the space, and it's like, well, just let's not do it like that, because actually there's a story on the other side. And that story, when you actually listen to it, is like, yeah, fair enough. If you appeal to their human side, you're just like, yeah, I get that. Well, you broke the rules, but I do sort of understand why you did. And I don't think that you should be given this reputation of being a cheat and benefiting from that cheating. So, I just don't like the way people act sometimes to call people out like the way they have, and for me, it just reeks of a disliking from one side to the other. It's like I don't like these people and what they're about in the
Yep.
space, and so I want to call them out for being cheats and dopes. That's what it reeks of to me.
Man, we need more love. We need more love in the sport.
But, you know, I do
first.
think...
But yeah, it is a very nuanced, tricky discussion that is like has valid points on both sides. And
I think
as
I've
we
spoken,
get to on many podcasts.
Yeah. I mean, as I've spoken there, I think
nuanced.
people will probably think that I am so clearly on Cam Haynes' side and I'm defending him and Mike McKnight. And Killian Korth even. I mean, I think I probably am, but not even just because I sort of like them in some ways. I've never disliked Sage Canaday. I've seen his videos, and I don't. His comedy is not really my. It's like softcore comedy. That's not really my vibe. His content's not really my vibe. That's like besides the point. I think he is a really nice guy, and I think that he means well. But I just think that my position on it is that what I have seen from those who are supposedly the clean sport advocates in the discussion is a unfair summarization of what's actually happening in the drama, and what it is like once you agree that rules are rules and there's no nuance to the discussion, then it obviously seems like stupid. Then it makes it sound like these people that we're attacking are taking EPO, which is just not the case. Like, you can discuss it in a way. You can discuss it in a way that makes these people seem like they are clearly taking these performance enhancers and gaining an advantage on other competitors. And I just do what I want. I don't care about it. And obviously that's a horrible way to behave. No one wants anyone to be taking these outright performance enhancers and cheating to gain an advantage over their competitors. But that's not what's happening here. What's happening here is people running events, by the way, that are unbelievably taxing on the body. So we're not talking about just running a marathon. We're talking about like 250 plus mile events. And they go through days and days. They are wrecking their bodies. Mike McKnight has absolutely destroyed his body over the years. And for him to continue showing up, if he takes a peptide or some sort of intervention that is a bit maybe alternative, if that breaches the rules, I think that, you know, obviously we should know that. But at the same time, you should also recognize that there is more nuance to this, and he's not taking anything to gain an advantage. I just think that we should be
Killian
kinder.
Korth going through the desert and dealing with allergens.
Exactly, and I think what's interesting
the guy's
there
just
is
trying
that
to breathe.
Yeah, and the guy and he went through the process of actually sending a message to the race organizers.
Yeah,
and the race organizers were like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. You don't need to get a proper official exemption," and that's because the race organizers aren't even on it. And then obviously, the clean sport advocates are like, well, we need the race organizers to be more on it. And it's like, yes and no. Like, they don't have the budget, bro. Like, they've got to lean on this sort of honesty side of things.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Gone are the days where like ultra running was just I'm not advocating for people to like run on shrooms and whatnot, but like gone are the days where people were like just I don't know, sort of dirtbagging it through the. I mean, we're just getting more sophisticated and professional, and that's cool and fine. But
if anybody wants to go back to the good old days, just go and check out Anton Karupka's Instagram and just see him free soloing in sandals at the moment. That's my favorite content.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's a vibe thing, isn't it? Like, we're just sort of missing that. And I think many people will say, well, if you want that, you can just not compete. Like, don't sign up to events.
Yep.
I guess fair enough. Yeah, anyone who's technically breaching the WADA rules, maybe they should just do their own thing. Maybe that's the move.
On impressive performances and a topic change that we haven't discussed, I'm particularly impressed by Max Joliffe's Badwater. Yeah. That run was psycho. When I actually went into the splits, I was like, holy shit, that was nuts.
Maybe he's on drugs. I'm joking.
And even if he was, I'm like, the guy's out running in that 40 plus degree temps for 217k. Like, you still got to be out there.
Unbelievable performance. Unbelievable performance.
I just didn't realize how quick his raw pace, I think, was like a 5:47 pace or 5:37, but his gap for that was 5:20 per kilometer. I was like, that's humming for 217k.
That's his like easy going out the gates, take it easy. You're getting pissed off because he feels like he's taking it too easy and he thinks the strategy's wrong at the early stages. But he's still running like my regular easy pace.
Jogging around Melbourne for 5k at the moment.
Yeah, dude. Incredible. And the fact that he just kept running. He actually, I think, took on Badwater 135 like no one else has taken on Badwater 135 before. In that he didn't stop running. He ran every part of it. And even at aid stations, not aid stations, but even at cruise stops, he just kept running. So they were like topical calling him as he's running, giving him everything he needs as he's going. So I think he's kind of changed the game in some ways in terms of how you approach that race, in terms of race execution.
I think we'll see get even quicker. I think he'll go under 20 now pretty soon.
Do you reckon? Yeah. And for those who don't know listening, like, we're talking about temperatures in Death Valley that are over 50 degrees Celsius, right?
Yeah.
It's literally... my coffee I was drinking just now was way colder than that.
Yeah. And I say that because, in all respect to Max, he is an unbelievable athlete. But you look at some of the 100-miler guys out there, like take Walmsley for an example. Walmsley's got an engine in him where he's running like a 61, 62 half. Like, he went and paced the 64 half marathon the other day. And I think like there's a caliber of 100-miler guys out there that have these like super efficient engines that if they did the same approach as Max, I think that's when you would see it like go considerably lower. But
it's hard to say, man. Yeah. I do know what you mean, but my argument against that would be that I don't think just pure engine capacity and fitness translates. I mean, if you were to get everything else that Max Jolliffe got right, then yes, of course it would translate for sure. But he's got some engine on him. He's not running. He's running like 2:30 marathons. Yeah, he's doing huge mileage. He's been working really hard. So like, I'd be interested to see where he'd be at in terms of his like half marathon speed and all that sort of stuff now. But there's just so much specific stuff that goes into training for Badwater that other athlete would need to get right. They'd need to be as heat adapted as him. They'd need to have a crew as dialed in as his.
I just loved in an interview afterwards, he was just like, there was no one in the field that was as heat adapted as I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just like, man.
Respect. He didn't even feel, well, I'm sure he felt hot, but I don't think he even felt like it was stopping him in any way. And that's crazy, bro. Yeah. That's crazy.
Because but I'm just so blown away by the 5:20 pace at the 217k. It's so nuts.
Yeah. Massive congratulations to Max Jolliffe there. Huge performance. I am sad to say I don't have the name of her, but I think second place was also a record pace. Can you Google that? What were the positions? I believe second place was female. Overall second place was female, and maybe
Carmen Maria Perez, who set a new women's course record of 21 hours, 5 minutes and 32 seconds while finishing second overall.
so
Like, that
crazy.
is, yeah,
Oh,
also motoring.
absolutely mad. Yeah, I think maybe more attention should be given to
That
Carmen there as well.
also, I reckon, would have been, like, if Max Say wasn't in it, that would have been a course record as well. I think she went under course record pace.
That's what I thought. Tell me
Yeah.
if that's true. So she got an overall course record, and the only reason she isn't international news is because Max Joliffe beat her.
Yeah.
She should be she should be international. She got an overall. If Max had blown up, then she would be having the
Which,
career
like,
break
he
of
would
her
have
life.
been on the edge of
Yeah.
running as, like, he would have run a very fine line.
What's her name? Give us her name again.
Carmen Maria Perez.
Carmen
just trying
Maria Perez. Let's talk about Carmen
Yeah.
Maria Perez a little bit more. Wow. What an insane specimen. Yeah,
International
unbelievable.
ultra distance athlete. She's run 249.48 Ks in 24 hours, 147 K in 12 hours. She's run 100 K in 7 hours 41.
Oh
Yeah.
my days.
What
These
a
people.
jet.
There are some people, man, that when you run a race and you're like proud of it, then you like
Yeah.
compare yourself to like the people who won it, and you're just like, what? I'm like, how do you go any faster? That is insane. They've like got hours on you. Oh, these people, man.
She was leading for like a lot of the way as well.
Really wow.
Yeah, because Max only got a late, sorry.
Yeah, because Max's strategy was very conservative at the start, which is I find
Yeah.
really interesting because, well, it's not. I think most commonly, those who race Badwater, if you look at the data of previous attempts, previous races, I think the final 30 miles, so anything beyond 100 miles, it just all the pace just drops off a cliff. So
Yeah,
I think that
well, that's kind of what I saw for Max's last arc, maybe 20K. But
fair enough.
It went
But if
from
you can
like
hold on,
5 minute 30 pace, 5:40 pace to like 7:30s. Like, it wasn't. Honestly would have thought he would have ran that race at 7 minute 30 pace. No,
but is he climbing? Is he doing a bit of climbing? Yeah, I don't know. At the end,
I didn't go that much into it, but
but yeah, I think
yeah.
if you can stay resilient to the end rather than just up to 100 miles, I think that's a great strategy for Badwater.
yeah.
Well, another
Nuts.
amazing performance
Yeah.
is a new FKT across the Alps. Sophie Grant, I think she competes as Sophie Woods. She's actually gonna be on the pod. Gonna be chatting to her today, so that's coming up. The Via Alpina route, which is basically right
1,200
across.
mile long.
Yeah, it's a huge effort, and she got the overall FKT, fastest known time. She smashed the previous record.
28 days, 17 hours, 59 minutes.
That's right.
Smashing the previous overall record by more than a week.
Beats the prior men's record of 35 days, 21 hours and 4 minutes. Set by Jake Catterall in 2024. And the women's was 38 days, 2 hours, 54 minutes by
And
Tessa Kaspers.
117,000 meters of elevation gain. Imagine clocking that in 28 days. I haven't done that in 3 years at the moment.
So yeah, massive congrats to the Kiwi, Sophie, and we'll be chatting to her. So excited to have a chat. But yeah, that's just a huge effort, and it can't be underestimated. That's a huge record.
Actually nuts. Well, is there any more you want to go into? I feel like we've had a good swing at this out.
I don't have much more, to be fair. I'm off social media this week. I'm not posting or anything, so I haven't seen any.
Nice.
If there's been dramas this week, I haven't seen any. I'm sure there'll be plenty of clips from this episode that will be controversial. Look, like, I want to say, I know that, like, we may have spoken about things where people have strong opinions, and there's many more things to say. My position on things, although sometimes I come across passionate, is always changeable. And at the end of the day, like, I'm just not right about everything. But even though I'm coming across like I think I really believe this, like the doping discussion, there's a huge amount of nuance to it. There actually is. The more you dive into it, and I haven't wanted to speak about it this whole time because every time I look into it, I'm like, actually, that's a fair point. And then I'm like, actually, that's a fair point from the opposite side. And it is nuanced. I just, my overall message there is that just, I sort of always wish that people were to be less attacking of individuals for their opinions and more considerate of the fact that the story is nuanced and there's more to it. And I don't like seeing the trail and ultra community get divided, and that's kind of where I'm at with it.
We need to band together as a community.
Yeah,
we got something magical. We can't eat ourselves up.
Yeah. So if your opinion of me has changed because of my opinions, I'd like you to
check yourself.
Check yourself, because you know, I am not my opinions. So yes, get involved in the comments. If you do have strong opinions about something, share them in the comments, engage with each other in friendly ways. Remember, it's not that deep. It doesn't have to be. And Josh, it's been a pleasure. We'll try and get this going again sooner rather than in
less
3 months.
than 12 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, apologies
before the
for
next
everyone
quarter.
who's waited.
Guys, I'm so sorry. But thank you for being here, and thanks for checking in on Tommy and I appreciate it.
We love you. We love it when you ask for more. If you want us to discuss anything as well, like sometimes we get to the call and we're both really busy, so we get to the call and we're like, what are we discussing? We have a bit of a chit chat before, but it's if people are really riled up by things, I don't see everything happening in the space. So if people want to highlight something that you think is cool, is uplifting, or is worth debate, then
I'm happy when Tommy doesn't see everything in the space, because sometimes I get a little bit worried about him just spending too much time on his phone, getting too deep. I'm like, just want my boy out there running. So send us the hot topics and save Tommy the research.
Yeah, well, Stefan's on it as well. We've got a bit of research happening outside of it. So I do try and stay off, but we're all addicted. All right, brother.
Peace.
Just to let you know, there's a new intake for my coaching hub on the first Monday of every month. Sometimes we can get a bit lost in the numbers, feel underconfident in the gym, skip strength because we don't know what we're doing, don't really know if the work we're putting in is optimal. Well, the coaching hub is a full running and strength program, as well as a whole library of videos so you can learn as you go. You can claim one of the spots now at a discounted price, £30 off for the first 3 months, so it's $49.99. There are limited spots available each month, so go and claim yours now. Links in the show notes.